Welcome to another edition of the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, co-owner of Creativity Design Group, a digital marketing firm in Houston, Texas. Joining me today is lifestyle expert Justin Rail and consumer Lauren Hicks. In this special back-to-school edition, we are going to discuss a morning routine that'll help all business owners keep an orderly schedule when they start their day. It's called the $1 billion morning routine. It's a 14-step routine that you perform before you start your day, before you go out the door and head to work. This routine is beneficial for people of all types, especially if you have a full-time job, a part-time job, or as it pertains to this episode, if you're a business owner. We're mainly going to focus on the aspect of how business owners can benefit from this routine. You will find yourself feeling much better during the day with less stress on your mind if you follow these 14 steps. So, Justin, you have been practicing this routine yourself, and I want to learn more about how it's affected you and how you've seen your own lifestyle change after you started practicing these steps and follow this routine. I know that you wrote it down in your notebook to help you basically commit it to memory. You know, when you write stuff down, it burns it into the brain much easier versus just hearing somebody talk about it. So, yes, Justin, please tell me more about how the $1 billion morning routine has changed your lifestyle and how you have seen improvements in your daily life.
Well, first, we'll go through an outline of the 14 steps and then we'll elaborate.
Okay.
Yeah, upon waking up in the morning, try to recall your dreams. And then step 2 is to record the dreams in a journal. Followed by step 3 of making a bed. Step 4 is to drink a 16 to 20 ounce glass of water. Step 5 is a 2-minute to 15-minute workout followed by a shower. And then step 7 is getting ready for the day, such as brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, getting dressed, etc. Followed by making some tea and then journaling. Step 10 is to make a to-do list with 3 tasks on it that are work-related and 3 tasks that are personal items. And then you make a to-feel list, design what feelings to have throughout your day.
Mm-hmm.
And then step 12 is to make a to-do list, who to be today, followed by 20 to 30 minutes of reading, and then making and drinking a smoothie as your breakfast to give yourself not just the physical but mental fuel to function throughout the day. Starting with step 1, when you wake up in the morning through your alarm clock or the kid's alarm clock, whatever you used to wake up with, try to recall what you dreamed about the night before and record your dreams in a journal as step 2. Because they will often contain clues that can help you understand things better, because dreams often talk in metaphors, and working on decrypting those will not only help your decision making, but also help improve your short-term memory and your decision-making skills. Because when you're able to decrypt hidden meanings in things, it makes you much better able to make business decisions. Mm-hmm. Based not just what's on the surface, but what might not be immediately obvious on the surface of things. When you need to dig deeper, you'll have the mental capacity to do that more easily when you're recalling your dreams and recording them in a journal for decryption.
That's a good one. Also, I recommend people taking vitamins if they can in the morning as well, because that always helps. And breakfast is so important, because for years I never ate breakfast. I would always skip it, either because I was too busy with the kids or whatever. Just in general, I wasn't a breakfast person. Mm-hmm. But then as my health got worse, don't have breakfast, I feel worse and I feel so sick. My mind's not with it. And so, yeah, I agree. Breakfast is so important, and vitamins, if people can take them.
Mm-hmm. After recording your dreams in your journal, the next step, which is step 3, is to make your bed so that if you have a stay-at-home spouse, they're not stuck making the bed every day. Step 4 is to drink a 16 to 20 ounce glass of water, preferably cold water, because that will help gently wake you up without doing what's called the shock awake method. Follow that. After making your bed and drinking the 16 to 20 ounces of water, do a 2-minute to 15-minute intense workout. to get your blood flowing and get you warmed up for the day, followed by a cold shower because the doing those together will help get you cranked up for the day. And then after you get out of the shower, take care of your basic hygiene, brushing your teeth, combing your hair, getting dressed, etc. Then make some tea. You might be familiar with English breakfast form. Drink something like make and drink something like that while journaling for the day. And then make a 6-item to-do list as step 10. 3 work tasks you need to accomplish that day, and 3 personal tasks to accomplish that day. And then step 11, you make a to-feel list, design what feelings you want to have throughout your day to help design who you're going to be and to outline the behavior you want to see within yourself throughout the day. That can actually help people to be less narcissistic in the long run if they pay attention to those friends who tell them that they may be unintentionally toxic.
Definitely.
And then make a to-be list of who you're going to be throughout the day. And each of the work and personal feel list and to-be lists should be no more than 3 to 4 items each so that you don't overload yourself and overload not just your working memory but your long-term memory as well. And then reading 20 to 30 minutes, either the newspaper or some news articles on your phone, and then making and drinking a smoothie, because a smoothie is a really good way to have a breakfast. You make them out of fruit, which is a natural sugar, which will help crank you up without the so-called 2:30 crash that coffee and certain kinds of caffeine-laden tea could trigger if you drink them too soon after getting out of bed in the morning.
I find as well, spinach is good to add to your smoothies, and peanut butter can be good for energy as well. But like I find with spinach and carrots added to the fruit in a smoothie, always was great for me.
Peanut butter is considered brain food after all.
Yeah.
It is, unless you're allergic to it.
Right.
Now that we've gone through the outline,
right.
What specific questions do you have about the outline of the morning routine?
What I would like to do is go over each one of the steps and apply it to the business world, and then I'll ask you some questions along the way as we go through it. But my first question for you in general is, how big of an impact has this morning routine had on your lifestyle now versus before you learned about it and never practiced it at all?
It's made me a lot more efficient in the mornings, and it's caused my what I call mental boot up time to go from 4.5 hours down to about 90 minutes from wake up time to actually being powered up for the day, as from a mental and physical perspective.
I feel that this routine will really help out the business world quite a bit. There are a lot of business owners out there, and many of them have children who will be going back to school very, very soon. Let's discuss each one of the steps and how it can apply to people who are in the business world. So the first step is waking up early and recalling your dreams. Now, waking up early is pretty much a given, and if you are a business owner and a parent, you're going to have to get up early no matter what. Back to school time is looming. You will be taking your kids to school or getting them ready to catch the bus and things like that, and waking up early is pretty much something that's unavoidable. You're going to have to do it. So the first step is pretty much a given one. We all do that pretty much every day. We all have different schedules. When you wake up early, not only do you have extra time to take care of your kids, but you also have several, what I like to call pre-opening tasks. Think about if you own a store. You have a pre-opening procedure that you follow every morning when you unlock the door, right? You turn on your computer, you get the cash registers going, you put out certain products at the front of the store. Think about this as your pre-opening procedure for when you get up in the morning every day. You're getting your kids ready to go to school. You're making breakfast. You're getting them to brush their teeth and comb their hair and stuff like that. You can also perform certain housekeeping tasks that need to be done that you might forget to do later. So waking up early is pretty much a given. Recalling your dreams. Dreams can be very vivid. Some might be pure nonsense. Others might actually give you an insight on how to live life better.
Yeah, I always pick all my dreams.
Recording your dreams in a journal for later decryption can be critical because it helps boost your what's called working memory, which is your short-term recall.
Yes.
It helps you do mental math in your head. And that is a critical working memory skill that is especially applicable in food service because you have to be able to remember the order long enough to write it down.
Yes,
Well,
that's right.
while they're talking to you, if you're taking your order. And having a good short-term recall like that, a good short-term recall, especially if you're a cashier, can be very helpful to make sure that you're counting out change correctly and taking commands and entering them correctly in the cash register if you work in food service. Because if you don't have a good short-term working memory, that actually has been proven to be a symptom of early Alzheimer's, which this is an unrelated subject for another podcast, but they actually are starting to believe that Alzheimer's is diabetes type 3.
Oh, okay.
That's scary. I see what you mean. Having a good short-term recall is a great skill that every business owner should have. Regardless of whether you work in the food service or any industry, you're going to need to make sure that you're able to remember a lot of different things. And if you're a one-man show, we have to remember a lot of different little things. We get a lot of calls coming in sometimes. So our vendors call us or our technicians call us, and we need to remember certain things they told us. And if your short-term recall is not very good, the best thing to do is to have a notebook and write things down. Waking up early does help you have a good short-term memory recall. It reduces stress because there's no rush through your morning. Versus if you wake up later, you're rushing to get out the door because you know you have to be somewhere at a certain time and you slept most of your morning away. And if you're a parent, you have no choice but to wake up early, as I said earlier. Recalling your dreams is a great exercise for getting your mind ready for the day because now you're practicing short-term memory recall. You're getting ready to start remembering other things that you're going to need to take mental notes of later, and especially if you need to do mental math. Maybe your cash register is down or you accepted a cash payment and you don't have a cash register. That's another thing. You need to be able to do the mental math so you can make change properly. The next step is making your bed. Now, while making your bed does not sound like it has anything to do with the business world, think of it this way. You're completing a task in the morning that should be routine. So by making your bed, you're preparing yourself to follow routines in general. Some people are not good at this. Some people are like free spirits. They don't have any schedule or any structure of their day. They just do things randomly. By adding making your bed to your daily routine, you're already practicing putting yourself in a routine, and it'll get you ready for other things later. Or the more you can get used to making schedules and sticking to them, the better and more efficient you'll be in the business world.
Drinking a 16 to 20 ounce glass of water before doing a 2-minute to 15-minute workout to help finish shaking off the mental cobwebs from the night before, after having recalled and written down your dreams and having made your bed and gotten a glass of water to hydrate with, that gets your blood flowing and that gets your body started up for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you follow that with about a 10 to 15-minute shower to wash the sweat off of you. And you follow that with getting ready for the day, brushing your teeth, your hair, getting dressed, etc.
Right.
And then making some tea will help give you a further boost to your day while you journal the items that you're going to do, either trying to decode the dreams that you've written down in step 2, or whether you're using that journal additionally to also do items 10 through 12. It can be a really good idea to do. And that actually was the concept behind something that's very popular in the mental health care world called bullet journaling. So it's a form of day planner that each person customizes to their own needs.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of this. Yes, bullet journaling can be very effective because it takes journaling and makes it more organized, and you can be more creative with it. I was even going to suggest maybe even combine steps 10, 11, and 12 into one item, because when you're writing in your journal, you can start writing down like you mentioned, your dreams. You can also start writing down your to-do list in your journal. And then if you're reading, you could start taking notes about what you're reading, especially if it applies to what you're planning to do for the day. For example, I am always reading industry-related articles about web design and digital marketing. And when I read, I often take mental notes, and sometimes I take written notes as well, because I know that this is information I'm going to need later. The journaling aspect is where you combine your to-do list, your dream recalls, anything you're studying or reading, and pretty much anything you want to spill from your brain onto your paper and put them all in one place.
Yeah, because on your to-do list, the work and personal tasks you need to do, the feelings you want to have throughout the day, and who you want to be for the day. On your to-do list, your to-do list of things you need to do, the feelings you want to feel for the day, along with having recalled your dreams, is a great way to bullet journal through your morning routine to just kind of do what's known as a brain dump,
Right.
to kind of empty your mind so that it can kind of do a soft format to get you started for the day without preloading too much stress on you.
Right.
Before you're ready for the day fully after completing your morning routine.
That's right.
And it definitely helps as well. Say, like, you have a nightmare or you have problems with nightmares. Having that routine in the morning will help clear your mind from that nightmare you had the night before.
Yes, and if you write it down, nightmares are often symptoms of problems in real life that need to be addressed. Either they're warnings about impending problems, or they are symptoms of problems that are already going on that you may not be fully aware of, or you're trying to dismiss because you don't want to deal with it yet, even though you may need to in order to fix your nightmare problem.
Right.
That's an interesting scenario to bring up about the nightmares, because the more of your dream you can decode, the more easily you're going to be able to cope with your life, because they often give you advice that a lot of people miss and or ignore because they don't think dreams have meaning, but actually they do, because it's your subconscious mind running imagery, sometimes sound, and sometimes smells at you, that it's either trying to help you process what you've been through or warn you of things that know that are coming up that you're going to have to deal with.
Yes, that goes back to what I was saying earlier about dreams being meaningful, right? Now, I also want to talk about reading especially. You don't want to read the news because it's very negative, and you don't want to read material that is nonsensical and childish and has nothing to do with what you're going to be doing later during the day. You want to read something that can inspire you. Like I said earlier, I read a lot of articles related to the industry that we're in. And I want to read something that I know is practical, that I can apply in the real world while running my business. For example, if I see an article about how to make email newsletters more effective, that's what I'm going to read, because I can share that information with my clients and also apply it to my own business. You'll want to read something that'll prepare you for the day. The more relevant it is to what your business tasks are for the day, the better. Just because you graduate from college doesn't mean you're done learning. No, not at all. You're far from done learning once you graduate. The most valuable learning experience you'll ever get is from being out in the field. It's not going to be from college, just sitting in class, writing down notes and listening to lectures. It's going to come from real world experience.
I've learned far more at work and from a public library than I ever learned in school. Because when I left public school after I finished grade 6, because I needed to get a job fairly young, I decided to utilize the resource called the public library. And even though it may surprise some people, if you read the right books on some advice from trustworthy librarians, you can give yourself the equivalency of a 2-year college degree by the time you're 18, if you read the right books in the library after school and pursue independent tutoring.
I've got loads of books, and I make the most of my bookstore on my phone as well. I've got tons of books on the bookstore as well as physical books.
I've got at least 3 or 4 bookshelves in my room alone. And most of the books on these shelves, I'm going to admit, most of them are on digital photography, graphic design, web design, and marketing and sales, and entrepreneurship. Those are the topics that make up the majority of my library here at home.
Yeah, non-fiction books.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a bookshelf in my personal bedroom. It's got a total of 12 shelves on it, and every single one of those shelves has got books on it.
But now As I used to hate reading when I was younger, but as I've got older, I love it.
Well, reading is only as fun as you can make it. If you're enjoying what's written in the book, then you're going to enjoy it quite a bit. But if it's boring, you're not going to enjoy it.
I like reading about other people's lives and other people's stories. So I read non-fiction books because I absolutely love a true story.
But
reading memoirs of famous people like the Frank McCourt trilogy, that is really good reading. Non-fiction autobiographies of famous celebrities can be quite an eye-opener on some of the things that you'd never think other people go through, and gives you a window into how you yourself can improve the world for the generation to come behind you. Because your job in this world, whether you realize it or not, should you accept it, is to be a force for good or evil, whichever side you decide to play for, and be the best at whatever you do. Can be.
We certainly don't condone anybody who chooses the side of evil, but reading books about real-life experiences can definitely be life-changing. In fact, if you look back on the very first episode of the CDG BizCast, we reviewed a book called Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Fertitta, one of the biggest businessmen in America. And that book alone, it took me about a week to finish reading it, but that book alone definitely helped me change my perspective as a business owner. You learn more about how to make the business less about yourself and more about making it to serve your customer better. That's what every business should be about, serving your customer better, being prompt, delivering on time, quality.
The boss.
Right, yes. It should always be about the customer.
Ultimately, if you're not being productive in your personal life, you're not going to be able to maintain productivity in your business life over the long term.
Right.
And if you're not being productive at work, ultimately the customer is the boss, and the customer can fire your entire company by spending their money somewhere else.
Right, and
at your competitor.
And you've told us.
And if enough of your customers do that, you're going to go out of business.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You said that exact same thing a few episodes ago as well, and that's the honest truth. And you have to make sure the customer is always treated like royalty. But going back to reading in general, if you don't have time to read a book or a chapter in a book, then here's my recommendation. Download the Pocket app. This is simply an app or browser extension. It's available for Chrome and Firefox, where if you see an article that you want to read, you can simply save it within Pocket. It creates a list of websites and articles that you want to read later. I recommend handpicking several articles and then pick the ones you want to read each morning. That way you'll always have your reading material planned ahead of time. It simply allows you to handpick articles and websites, save them in a list, and then you can always open that list and pick the ones you want to read later. It's basically a save for later type of list. And I recommend picking articles that are relevant to what you're doing, what you're working on.
I often read articles on mobile phone technology because that's something that is very important to me, to maintain open lines of communication between the people who rely on me for information. As we're setting up a brand new chapter of the National Association of Black and Minority Veterans in the Columbia, South Carolina area, I'm their communications department. And so communications articles are very important for me to keep up to speed on, along with articles about the latest fraud scams that are in circulation.
Right, yes.
To make sure that and other veterans are not being taken advantage of by scammers, because I can warn them about the scams before they fall victim to them.
Educating yourself not only benefits you, but it also benefits other people when you share the knowledge.
Exactly. And ultimately, we're all here to help each other learn stuff. And if you're not learning while helping others to learn, then really you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing in your life.
Right.
And that's something that everyone should always work on trying to fix.
That's right. So I consider the reading step, out of this entire routine, I consider the reading step to be probably the most important, because reading helps you get ready for your day, especially if it's something that's practical and you know that you are going to apply in the real world several hours later once you head out the door.
Yeah, and then the absolute last step is to make and drink a smoothie for breakfast, because it gives your body natural sugar to run on,
right.
Which is ultimately what the human body is designed to run on, is natural sugars. And that will keep you powered up a lot longer than eating scrambled eggs, bacon, and a pancake for breakfast. It's scientifically proven.
But it's also important to mention that not everybody will find this routine feasible, because some people are not going to be able to handle taking in a glass of water and then a glass of tea and then a smoothie all within one morning. That's a lot to consume in just a few hours of waking up. My recommendation is, out of all these, pick the one that you know your body's going to handle the most, the one that you know is going to wake you up. For example, if you know you need your caffeine, go for the tea. You can skip the water and the smoothie and just go for the tea. Make the tea your breakfast. Not everybody's going to be able to handle a glass of water, a glass of tea, and a smoothie all in such a short time frame. But yes,
that is true, but you can always work on that.
Right. The smoothie does have the natural sugar benefits, and a lot of us naturally want to believe that sugar's poison, sugar's bad for you. But no, your body needs sugar to function.
The difference is artificial sugar is the bad guy.
Yes.
Not natural. Artificial sugar is the bad guy. Did you know that the rates of artificial sweetener use march in automatic lockstep with the rise in diabetes in every country they're used?
Right, yeah, that's actually...
And the more artificial sweeteners a country uses, the more diabetics it's going to have in its population.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
It's been proven in a lab.
That's why I recommend, when doing your breakfast, focus on natural sugars. Don't use artificial sweeteners in your teas and your coffees.
Yeah, and actually coffee is proven to dehydrate you, and it's a diuretic, so it will actually lead to problems in the long term if you drink too much coffee.
Right.
Energy drinks, the chemical compounds in that may wake you up, but ultimately, if you aren't careful with those, they can cause a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
That's why tea is one of the gentler ways to wake up in the morning. So that's why I would recommend something along the lines of an English or Irish breakfast tea if you're going to go that route.
Right.
Because it's a little bit gentler than coffee, and unlike an energy drink, it's not going to cause you to do the 230 crash that coffee's known for,
Right.
and it's also less likely to cause a heart attack for the caffeine.
Yeah, honey can be good as well. That gives me energy, honey does. If I put it on my cornflakes, I have energy and it's great. So honey can be really good as a replacement for sugar, etc.
Right.
Yes, and actually, did you know that diabetics can actually safely consume up to a teaspoon of sugar twice a day?
I didn't know that. I mean, most of us want to believe that when you're a diabetic, you have to avoid sugars. But another good breakfast option that's healthy, oatmeal. Oatmeal's good for the heart. It clears the bad cholesterol. You'll want to moderate how much milk you put into it. But if you need it to be sweet, instead of using sugar, use cinnamon and chop up pieces of banana and apple and throw it in there.
That's what I do.
However, on the cinnamon, you want to make a note not to use the Saigon cinnamon because it's not a real cinnamon.
Right.
And Saigon cinnamon, by the way, is actually proven to cause heart trouble later on if you consume too much of it.
Right.
So you'd want to go for the much harder to find, and it's going to be more expensive, but go for the Ceylon cinnamon, which is a real cinnamon,
right,
not the Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the cinnamon sold in America is the Saigon type. So if it's not labeled as the Ceylon, just assume it's the Ceylon.
Right.
Especially if you're in the States.
Yeah. I sometimes add frozen fruit to my porridge or my Weetabix, and I'll add sometimes peanut butter and honey, and then I'll microwave it, and it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, that does sound good. Plain oatmeal by itself has no flavor, but when you dress it up nicely, it's more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. I myself, when I have oatmeal in the mornings as an alternative to the smoothie, tea, coffee, and water, often will add oatmeal to a bowl, and then fill it with the recommended amount of water, and then after it's been cooked, I'll add a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter to it to really get that density. It'll take... I myself find that oatmeal is very interesting because I like to add peanut butter to mine when I have that as an alternative to smoothie, tea, and coffee in the mornings. Because the reason I add the peanut butter to it is not only are oatmeal dense on its own, but if you really want to have that long-term digestive stuff to it, if you add peanut butter to it, which is it's so dense, you'll make it sit in your stomach like a brick, but it'll do a slow release on the energy, kind of like maraschino cherries, which have a high sugar content but a slow release rate.
Right.
Which means that it's not going to, maraschino cherries and oatmeal don't spike your insulin levels the way some foods will, such as a Jimmy Dean sausage biscuit.
Yeah, that stuff's greasy. A healthy breakfast will help you function better during the day, and, Jimmy Dean sausage, any type of fried food like bacon or eggs, you said earlier. Yeah, that's all enjoyable. But is it good for your body? No, it's not. And chances are it's just going to make you feel sluggish during the day.
I mean, unless you're like me and burn something like 15,000 calories in 3 days, typically you're not going to need to be eating bacon and grease and sausage and scrambled eggs in the morning because you're not going to go through that kind of calories.
Right.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets to work out at the rate that you do, Justin. I know that you do a lot of walking everywhere, and that's why I stress the importance of having a healthy breakfast. Once you go out the door to start your day, you need to be able to function right, serve your customers, remember everything that they told you, complete important tasks.
As a business owner, it is very important to be able to have your mind not foggy while you're on the job.
Right.
Because if you're experiencing foggy mind on your off time, your work time mind is not going to be that much better.
No, it's not.
And that often points to a poor diet, and that means you'll also have other stuff going on that you need to address before you can be a proper business owner who will be truly profitable.
Right. Especially if you're a one-man show, that's especially true, because you don't want to get overwhelmed with too much stuff. You don't want to get overwhelmed with too much going on.
If your mind goes into psychiatric overload, the memory circuitry in your brain is going to temporarily switch off until you're in a lower stress environment.
Right.
And that will interfere with productivity. And if it happens often enough, you will go out of business because you won't be able to handle the stress of being in your own business.
Right.
And you'll need to work for somebody else so that you can offload the business ownership stress to them so that you actually can function in your personal life and business life. Not enough business owners understand that, and that's why so many small businesses fail. It's because they fail to keep their stress levels in proper check.
Right. And the first step in the routine to wake up early is supposed to help reduce stress. And think about it. Why do most people start businesses?
Because they're tired of dealing with workplace stress and working for someone else.
Exactly.
They're stuck in what they believe is a dead-end, go-nowhere job, and they want it.
They want more. That's how I felt about it. The whole reason why I quit working for other people was because I got tired of working for somebody else. I did not like the everyday life of being on a leash and at their beck and call versus when you're a business owner, you get to set your own rules. You get to decide who you're going to deal with every day. And you get to keep all the money. If you're a one-man show, that is. Of course, if you have employees, you got to pay them. When you start your own business, most of the time you're a one-man, one-woman show. And any money that comes in is yours. And you get to decide how much money you want to make.
Yeah, and it's directly proportional to how much work you're able and willing to put in is how much you're going to get back out of that business.
Right.
That's why it's often a good idea if you are an independent contractor to have multiple jobs going on at once.
That's right.
So that you, as one project finishes up, you can open up your schedule for another project so you can be taking care of multiple customers so that as you're completing old customer orders, you've got referrals from those customers for new orders to keep your income coming in so that not only are you making money, but you've got your business and personal expenses covered.
Right.
Not enough business owners understand that that's what you're supposed to do.
That's true, and that's why most small businesses fail, not even 1 or 2 years after they open their doors. What it all boils down to as it relates to the topic at hand is that when you can reduce your stress load, you can function better, you can serve your customers better, and your company will be making money. Your business is not going to be profitable if you cannot serve your customers properly. The first step towards running a profitable business is first keeping your stress under control. When you start out as a one-person business, You're basically an octopus. You have to have one arm in several different unrelated aspects to the business. You might have one arm handling marketing, another one handling sales, another one handling customer service, another one has to handle IT. You know what I mean. You have to manage the whole show. You don't have anybody helping you. Being able to manage your stress is key to running a good one-person business. And following this routine will help you reduce your stress load, especially when you keep things in order. When you have your routine set every day to wake up early, remember what you dreamed about, make your bed and drink water, take your vitamins, and then even while you're taking a cold shower, which is the 8th step in the routine, you can start thinking about what you want to do during the day. You can think about things that are more complex. Use that time to brainstorm how you want to tackle a certain problem that you know you're going to face when you head out into the real world later that day.
Exactly, because it was actually my first wife, Jennifer, who passed away earlier this year, that introduced me to the concept of bullet journaling. The first month that I tried it, I had a list of 14 monthly errands I'd always have to do on payday that I had to do in person.
Right.
And getting those paid would take me 14 hours. With bullet journaling, when I finally was getting organized and getting everything consolidated to make sure that I minimized my backtracking on myself, it went from 14 hours down to 3.5.
Right.
And that meant that after 9 a.m., if it's taking you 13 hours, you won't be home until 10 p.m. at night.
Right.
So I was able to cut it down from being gone from 8:30 in the morning till 10:30 or 11 p.m. at night on those errands to being home no later than 2 p.m.
The bullet journaling really helped you reorganize your daily schedule so you weren't out all day, because most people are not gone all day, and I know you certainly don't want to be out all day. You want to get as much as you can done efficiently and in a timely manner so you can be back home to relax.
Yeah, and even though I've recently acquired a car, with gas prices being what they are, I still make sure that I have about a minimum before I leave my gated community. I make sure I have a minimum of 3 things I need to do that are not within walking distance of the front gate that I have to do using the vehicle.
Right.
Because that way I minimize my gas expenses because I can build an efficient route that allow me to knock them out sequentially so that as I accomplish the go to my first place, when I'm at my final stop, I'm less than 5 miles from my house total driving distance, so I don't have to backtrack on myself 15 times.
Right. I really like how organized you keep your life. You know how to keep certain aspects of your life in check, and it all came from following this morning routine, especially the bullet journaling portion. But I want to talk more about step 11 specifically, to create a to-do list. And here is how I do my to-do list. I make sure that I never overlook it. How? I have a dry erase board on my wall in my office, and I have it split into 2 columns, the week agenda and to-do tasks. The week agenda are general tasks that are to be completed throughout the week, such as finalizing so-and-so's website or start social media marketing campaign, something like that, versus a to-do list. The to-do portion is more specific, such as email this client, design this banner, stuff like that. It's more specific, and it's tasks that can be done right away.
That is a good way to do stuff. And I find that it's easier to do. I myself keep it in a portable book that I can take with me everywhere I go, so that I've always got my pen with me.
Right.
And I have my paper with me so that if I need to make a note while I'm on the trail, that I can do so.
And you could even take that a step further. Get the Evernote app. It allows you to take notes on your phone, and you can sync them between I believe it's 2 devices on a free account. So you can install one copy, sign into your account on your computer, and then that same account signed in through the app on your phone. So whenever you take a note, it syncs up in 2 locations. It's a great way to take notes digitally and sync them between different devices. The Pro plan allows you to sync unlimited devices.
Yes, I myself don't particularly use that. I use Microsoft Office 365 subscription instead, which is a great alternative to Evernote.
True.
And even though it costs me $10 a month, I find that it's well worth the expense because I can log in as many devices as I need to. So both my laptops, my phone, and both of my tablets are logged into one account.
Right. I use Microsoft Office as well for the Office suite mainly and for OneDrive. But it is a great way to take notes because you can make a Word document with your notes in it and sync it using OneDrive, which is their cloud storage platform.
Yes, and that can be really handy because of something that is specifically codenamed by Apple as handoff, where you can pick up on another device what you were working on your other device.
Right.
For example, if I've got two Apple devices running 15.5 or newer, or at least 15.1 or newer, I'm able to start on one device and then pick it up on another device and finish it up.
Right.
Should I need to plug one of them in, or if I'm busy working on something, at least I don't have to interrupt my workflow if I do have to switch devices should something come up.
Right. And consistency is key. Having to switch between too many devices in your morning routine is just going to make things look flaky.
Which is why you should try to minimize your usage of a device until step 10 at the very least, because you want to keep your screen time in your morning routine to a minimum of at least until step 10, because it will affect the serotonin levels, and that can interfere with the neurotransmitter activity in your brain, which will lead to problems later if not kept under control.
Right.
Which is why you should never have screen time for those under the age of 2.
That's right.
Per CDC rules and the AAP.
Right. It could also be damaging to your vision as well, especially if you're using large computer screens.
Yes, it can. It really can. In fact, it's been proven that watching too much TV can actually cause you to need corrective lenses for driving.
Right.
If you watch too much TV before the age of 16, it can often be something that will cause you to need to wear corrective lenses behind the wheel for your entire driving life if you watch too much TV as a kid.
That's right. And if you notice in this morning routine, I don't see watching TV mentioned anywhere in this routine. That's because it's not good for your morning day preparation. It just isn't.
No, it isn't. In fact, TV is one of the worst time wasters they've ever invented.
Right. And if you notice, YouTube is not mentioned in here either. I mean, if you like watching TV shows or YouTube videos, save it for after you come back home, after you've had a productive day. Don't do it in your morning routine when you're trying to get ready for your day.
Yeah, because otherwise you will set yourself up to actually end up needing that morning YouTube video almost like a nicotine
Right.
that smokers would be familiar with.
You end up conditioning yourself to always needing to watch a TV show or a YouTube video. And like I was saying, we don't want to do that. We want to focus on educating ourselves, on being productive during the day. That's why when you do your journaling, you write down your to-do list, you write down any of your thoughts that are important, and then when you're reading, take notes. Read an article that pertains to what you're going to be doing during the day and then take notes, because you might learn something new that you could take with you out into the field and make your job so much more easier.
Yeah, you never know who might say or mention something important in a book or how-to article that can completely change your routine, because it'll help you reprogram your mind to be that much better than you were before.
Right.
Because a human mind exposed to a new idea never goes back to its original size.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I believe that human consciousness exists far beyond just the mortal bodies that we inhabit while we're here.
That's right.
And we came here to learn. Where to go after this life, I don't know. But I believe that this planet is a training ground to teach us what we're going to need to know later, because it's going to be applicable information where we're going.
You're always going to be learning something new that you can use sometime in the future.
Yes, and if you do not learn something new each day, that's a day that I consider a failure.
That's right. And as a business owner, you should always be learning all the time. You should always be learning. You should always have a thirst for learning. You should always feel this need for self-improvement. Always think about how you can make your business better. How can you serve your customers better? How can you give them more value? Things like that. And I want to go ahead and get ready to close the show out. We've covered the entire routine and we've given plenty of in-depth insights on each step within the routine. So I want to close by going over all 14 steps one last time. So let's go down the list again. Justin, can you please start?
Okay, yes. Step 1 is upon waking up in the morning, recall your dreams.
That's right.
Step 2, record your dreams that you remember in a journal.
Mm-hmm.
Step 3, make your bed. Step 4, drink a 16 to 20 ounce glass of water. Step 5 is a 2-minute to 15-minute workout.
Mm-hmm.
Step 6 is a shower. Step 7 is getting ready, brushing your teeth, brush or comb your hair, get dressed, etc. Step 8 is making your morning tea. Step 9 is journaling. Step 10, 11, and 12 are making your to-do list, your work, your personal. Making it to feel list, which designs what feelings you want to have for the day, and a to-do list of who you want to be for the day. And then reading 20 to 30 minutes is step 13, and followed by step 14, which is make and drink a smoothie for breakfast.
Right.
Because the smoothie is brain food.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And we can't stress enough that whether you have a smoothie or anything else for breakfast, just make sure that it's healthy. It'll keep you feeling stimulated throughout the day. So no junk food. But yes, Justin, I thank you very much for coming on the show today and talking to us about how the $1 billion morning routine has affected your lifestyle for the better. And I feel that every business owner out there listening can certainly benefit from following this morning routine. You can find yourself feeling less stressed out and more productive throughout the day so that your business is shown to be more profitable and that your customers are being treated properly. Thanks once again, Justin, for coming on the show. And thank you also to Lauren as well. This was a great episode of CDG BizCast. I hope that all those listening will be able to see their everyday lifestyle change for the better after following this morning routine. Thanks again, Justin.
It was a pleasure.